All right, I want to welcome all of you from the beaches of Panama. I'm right on the edge of the jungle, down at a program that I co-founded called Geoversity. We are Mother Nature's university, and I love the sound of this wave here in the back. And one of the things we've done is we've brought down a group of CEOs running significant companies. And what we're teaching them is what Dr. Tamsin Woolley Barker has taught us in what I consider one of the most important books written this century, called Teaming. And what she did, it's Teeming, and what she did is she studied superorganisms. And look, they have survived pandemics and all kinds of things, beehives, ant colonies, much longer than us human beings. And what she did is she identified 5 principles of these superorganisms, which, by the way, interestingly enough, is the companies that we call unicorns, those that were able to scale much further, faster than us, maybe mere mortals. Interestingly enough, maybe without knowing it, it's just a natural thing, have adopted these 5 principles. And so what I want to do is take a moment and just share these. It's something that we've been teaching in our programs, and it really informs, again, the rest of us, what we can do to scale easier with less drama. So the first one is that they really culture this collective intelligence. And it's this power of being able to tap in, not just to the know-how we've got on our senior team, but that of our employees, customers, and really the planet. My favorite story there is Rob McCune, who had this gold mine up in Vancouver. We hosted him at one of our virtual events, and he had hired the smartest 15 geologists that money could buy. He hires this really top leader to lead them, and they couldn't find an ounce. And so he's at a program, he's a YPOer at a program at MIT. And by the way, side note, he found out that his manager, his leader of this team, was really not listening to the other 15 geologists when he had a meeting with them. So anyway, he scrapped the whole thing. And he decided to take the multi-terabytes of data that he had and he put it up on the internet. And he put together this thing that became known as the Gold Corp Challenge. You can actually look it up, and it was a $500,000 Canadian prize if a team could find 6 million ounces of gold. So he puts up the prize, and within months, 1,000 teams from all over the world. And imagine what that would cost you if you had to hire 1,000 teams of smart folks. And they submitted what were interesting ways to model this data that nobody else had figured out. Well, 2 teams figured it out. They actually split the prize. And when we hosted Rob, he gave us the backstory, which is it was a team from Perth and Sydney. And look, who's really one of the leading mining countries in the world, and that is Australia. And as the story goes, the 2 of them were in the lobby of a mining company in Australia. And they said, hey, did you see this crazy guy out of Vancouver who's got this competition? Let's see if we can team up and find an answer. And they did. And that $500,000 Canadian prize netted him $6 billion in gold. Now, there's a site called Kaggle that we encourage people to take a look at. Google owns it now, and Mayo Clinic, it's got 65,000 smart people, though, had a challenge, and they put it up there, and with winning a prize of $8,000, they had thousands of teams provide a solution. And so, first, what are you doing to be able to mine the collective intelligence? And if you think about all the unicorns, what they've been able to do, whether it's the Amazon reviews or the TripAdvisor reviews, or Uber and Lyft not having to own any of those assets and tapping into the collective intelligence of the planet, what are you doing as a company to do the same? Number 2, how do you nurture swarm creativity? One of my favorite stories is Harley Davidson had this big fancy ad agency, and they decided to fire him, and they hired this agency in Boulder, Colorado. And this agency figured, you know what? I bet we've got a lot of customers, HOG members, Harley Owner Group members, who are also ad agency executives. So why don't we put together a competition? And we learned from Dan Pink's book, Drive, that uncommissioned, non-commissioned artwork is much more creative than commissioned. So Harley realized that by just hiring one ad agency, we're only getting their ad executives, their creativity, and it's being paid for. Here we've got a chance to tap into ad agency executives from many agencies and who are passionate about Harley Davidson. Anyway, they submitted all those. They chose the ones that they wanted to produce. And again, what was the total cost of that creative? Zero. Number three, these superorganisms really rely on distributed leadership. And one of the things I talked about with our last couple of videos, the importance of the team captain, is if you look at what are ant colonies and beehives, they are organized into 3 ant teams. By the way, they actually know their names. They have different personalities, those that study them. And they then have what's called a team lead. And those team leads are actually chosen at birth for their willingness to share information, not hoard information. And what's historically been the case is anyone that made it into management got there because they knew stuff other people didn't, and it was a power play, withholding information instead of sharing it. And that's what we're seeing today with look, Gary Hamel's book Humanocracy, which I highly recommend, where he shows company after company after company, whether it's Spotify and their organization into a team of teams, to hire the big white goods manufacturer out of China that had 74,000 employees, which means divide by 7, you've got 10,000 managers. Rather than trying to make the managers better, they just got rid of them, organized the rest of the 64,000 into 4,000 micro enterprises, and the rest is history. Too, Ron Lovett, whose book Outrageous Empowerment I have encouraged every one of us mere mortal EO, YPO member mid-market companies to read. Ron was able to scale up to 3,500 private security guards, which is 8 people at the senior team and 3,500 private security guards organized into special, small teams with team leads. And then what he did is he put the team leads in forums, something he learned from EO and YPO. And what replaced managers was a moderator of those forums. Number 4, the fourth principle is that then all of this to work requires reciprocity and sharing. And that was one of the things I had a chance to meet early on, 30 years ago in DC, the gentleman who headed up, he was the chief knowledge officer at McKinsey. And what they realized is that McKinsey was really going to achieve what it could, it had to find a way of recognizing and rewarding those who were willing to share information across the other consultants rather than hoard that information. Well, let's speed forward, and I don't know about you, but look, I've benefited from Waze, I've benefited again from TripAdvisor and other reviews, and I've felt like I owe it back to the hive, back to the tribe, that, hey, if I've had a good or bad experience, that I should share that. And so that power of reciprocity and sharing is critical among these superorganisms and us. And number 5, the importance that they're focusing on creating a regenerative culture instead of, and you guys know I've had this issue with this word resilient. Like every time I heard it in the pandemic, I just wanted to kind of, sorry about this image, throw up in my mouth. What we don't want to do is be resilient, which, as Dr. Tamsin Woolley Barker said, is that yes, we survived, but we did nothing different after it. What those that are regenerative do is they actually get stronger. And what's our equivalent of that to come full circle is the human body. Look, the only way that we strengthen our muscles, to strengthen our bones, is to actually tear them or put them under stress. And that's when they get stronger. Also, our immune system. The only way our immune system gets stronger is for it to actually come under attack. And so we were built that way. And what I know is that what we don't want is resilient children, cities, companies, or countries. What we want are those that are anti-fragile. I encourage you to read that book by Nassim Taleb, or what is called regenerative. So those are the 5 fundamental principles that Tamsin Woolley Barker discovered, the dean of our now School of Biodiversity at Geoversity. And witness to the point, Cisco, one of the most recognized best places to work, they've been studying these principles and beginning to apply them as a technology company within their own organization. And so take a look at these 5, get with your senior team, get with one of our coaches, and let's sit around and talk about how we can be a super organism and scale so much easier with less drama, like nature has. Again, welcome from the shores of Panama and Geoversity. Thank you.